Good morning and welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. It is the Wednesday edition of the show. My name is Kgomotso Modise. I'm in for Clement this December. Is it December? January. I'm in for Clement this week and today. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for choosing us. And thank you so much for your contributions. I'll be keeping you company between now and midday. It is, of course, the Clement Manyathela Show. So in the first hour, we're going to be starting with the open line. And I'm taking your calls on whatever is on your mind. What have you been thinking about over the last couple of hours, over the last 24 hours since you and I spoke? Is it what's been making the news headlines? Get in touch with us. I want to hear from you. And then in the second hour of the show, it's our Conversation feature. And I have a really exciting guest with us for In Conversation this morning. We have Nozibele Mayaba, who's an HIV activist, speaker and author, and she just wrote a new book called Let Me Tell You Something. I'm really looking forward to having her in studio. She's going to speak to us about her journey as an HIV activist, but also just her growth and her progression. And now she's writing another book, and she's going to be in studio sharing her story with us. That's between 10 and 11. And then between 11 and 12, that's the final hour of the show, it's our listener's choice, and we're going to be taking a bit of a deep dive into the appointment of Advocate Ndi Mutibi, who is your new National Director of Public Prosecutions. He was appointed, and the announcement came from the presidency last night. He will succeed Advocate Shamila Batowi, and she ends her term in January, so at the end of this month. I want to hear from you on that as well on the open line. But yeah, we're going to be having a conversation about that with a senior lecturer in criminal justice from UKZN, that is Dr. Suefa Bamji. I'm looking forward to that conversation. I'm also hoping we'll be able to hear from the presidency on the decision by the president, particularly because we know that Advocate Mutibi wasn't shortlisted for, or hadn't been, I don't want to say shortlisted because the advisory panel said it wasn't a shortlist, but he wasn't among the candidates who were interviewed for the position. So we're hoping to hear from presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya on this decision. And then from 11:30, we wrap up the show with our sharing space. And today on the sharing space, we're going to be hearing from a young man who has called in and written to us with a dilemma of a partner that he has, his partner who's desperate for them to take the next step of marriage, and he's just not sure. That's the Clement Manyathela Show this morning. I am taking your calls on 011-883-0702. I'm taking your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. I'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with us. Good morning.
702.
Call us on 011-883-0702.
So something that's been on my mind, I mean, I don't have school-going children yet, but I do have people around me who have kids who are going to school very soon. Next week, it is back to school. And everyone's been talking about these stationery lists that are really questionable. Some parents are questioning the items on the lists. You know, why do we need so many items on this list, right? And every year it's the same story. Parents saying, surely they don't need this many toilet paper packs. Surely they don't need this many packs of paper. And every year the schools continue to give longer and longer and longer lists. And Amo, you have school-going children.
I do have school-going children. Mm-hmm.
You look like you've got so much stress when it comes to the stationery list. What are some of the items on your kids' stationery lists that you've kind of questioned over the years?
They're in a different school right now, but they would ask for a box of tissue, right? And it's understandable because you place it right at the teacher's desk.
Yeah.
And for little snorties, then you know, the children can use that. And the hand soap. But then on top of the hand soap, sometimes they would add hand sanitizer, wipes, as well as the toilet paper roll.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, do you actually use all of these? I mean, if you have a liquid hand wash soap, why do you need a hand sanitizer? Do you know what I mean? If you have wipes, why do you need a hand sanitizer?
Yeah.
So those are the things I've been concerned about, and of course the excess stationery, like for instance, ask for 4 glue sticks, but by the time we reach March or
they need more.
June, they tell you your child has finished
glue.
so please can you send more? And it's just, it's not practical.
Like, what are we pasting so much?
That the glue stick will finish in 3 months. No ways.
And for me, I know my mom has always had an issue with just how specific they want. Like, they want this brand of glue.
Yes.
And we've never understood that. My mom's just like, I mean, glue is glue, right?
Along with the Typek rim.
Yes.
Like the rim of paper, not Typek. Typek is the brand.
But there's, the rim, like they want specific rims of paper. And it's like, but paper's paper, right? Yeah, no, I've heard that before. But what's always funny for me is how parents will complain among themselves. Never to the school or the teacher. You guys will just skin out on the side there.
A colleague of ours yesterday was fed up. He took out his phone and said, I'm phoning the department and I'm actually going to ask why are they requiring sunlight dishwashing liquid soap for school children as part of station. Why is that a need?
And also, why? I mean, imagine if a class of what, 30, 20? And we have so many sunlight liquid washing soaps. That does make me wonder sometimes. I'm just like, what are we doing with the sunlight, But of course, I'm sure the teachers might have a bit to weigh in on, and they'd want to shed some light maybe and let us know. Maybe we just don't get it. And I think also it's just the pinch, right? Just the finances. When you're counting the coins and it's January, you're thinking surely you could use 1 room or 2 rooms of paper
and
not 15.
Surely, Kgomotso, there's no way you need those right at the beginning of the year. There's no way. All of those right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
No. Give us until the end of Jan or the end of Feb.
Yeah.
Feb is even too far. Maybe the end of Jan, and then say by the 1st of January, your child has to have all of
Feb.
these.
Yeah. Also, I'm realizing that some schools are just saying, give us the money. I've heard that before, right? Schools say pay and we will provide stationery. And I think that also works really nicely.
It does.
But I can tell you now, people will complain about that too. They say it's too much money.
Because we know a cheaper place. There's always a cheaper
There's always a cheaper place. All right, we're talking about those items on your school stationery list, your child's school stationery list. What are some of the items that just have you questioning and wondering, do you actually need this? And what exactly is going on here? And I think there'd be more questions. If you ask me, I think there's less questions in December. We're so eager and ready to spend the money. But in January, we ask far more questions. I want to hear from you. I'm taking your calls on 011-883-0702 or your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. I do see on the WhatsApp line people wanting to weigh in on the appointment of Advocate Andy Mutibi. Someone here saying, hi, so I'm doubtful that cadres will allow Advocate Mutibi the space to do his job as NDPP and turn around the NPA. There's a busload of cadres who must be prosecuted and take up residency in various prisons. I don't see his light shining at the NPA. So the NPA has always been an organization that is so heavily politicized. And, that has been the conversation, and it's been revealed quite a bit, whether if you've been watching the inquiry into Advocate Chauke, the Johannesburg Director of Public Prosecution's conduct. The work of the NPA has really been watched there and analyzed with a fine-tooth comb. Or if you were listening to the very interviews that resulted in Mutibi's appointment, the NPA's nature of being politicized has always been brought to the fore. I am hoping that Advocate Mutibi will rise above that. And the sense I have of him as, of the man is that he really wants to get the work done, and he loves this country. My few engagements, but also when I've been attending some of his press briefings, I've always had the sense that he's got a no-nonsense approach to corruption, which is what we need. And I also think that he's the type of person who cares about his legacy, and that's important. I feel that so many people occupy these positions and they don't care whether they mess up. They just kind of just move on. If you've been watching the inquiry into Advocate Chauke and the way that Advocate Shamila Batoyi has been performing there just during her testimony, it makes me wonder whether she cares about her legacy, whether she's okay with the taste that she's going to leave in the mouths of South Africans. At some point just walking out of the inquiry, not asking to be excused formally. More than anything, apart from the fact that she must substantiate the allegations that she's made against Advocate Chauke, I would imagine someone would want to care about what people think about you, especially as you're at the tail end of your term. And my sense is that Advocate Mothibi actually cares. He wants to be remembered and considered as a person who gets the job done. I've also heard that he's a person who's very meticulous when it comes to things like time and just getting work done. He expects people to deliver, and that's why the SIU has performed so well. But Advocate Mothibi has also been a prosecutor himself. He started his career as a young prosecutor in Johannesburg, in courts in Johannesburg and in Soweto. And of course, he had a bit of a term there. Then he, joined the bench as a magistrate before going. I think he was at SARS at some point. He went to SARS. Then he had a stint in the private sector, came back in 2016 to head up the SIU, and he's done exceptionally well in that organization. So I am hoping that he's not contaminated by the environment. But yes, I cannot, fault anyone who is critical and who is fearful and has their doubts. Remember when Advocate Shamila Batoyi was appointed, how we were promised. We were promised, what do people say? We were promised earth and the sky. Yeah, we were promised so much, and we were told that this is the person who's going to be rescuing the NPA from all the political interference, rescuing the organization. And I think well into her term, we realized that, that's not what's going to be happening. And she also started making concessions during her term, speaking about the NPA being, questionable, I suppose, or the challenges in the NPA. But also she spoke about a broken justice system. And I found that to be so sad from a person who's essentially one of the custodians of that system. But she was very frank about the fact that the system is broken. Now, whether you think that's because she wanted to give a reason or an excuse for her performance is one thing. But yeah, after we were promised so much, in Advocate Shamila Batoyi, I can understand the concerns. I can understand the apprehension that people have. I do see some of your WhatsApps, and I see your voice notes also coming in, and they're going to be ready in a bit. Someone here is saying, Kgomotso, good morning. The question on... Oh, okay. Let's take this one. It says, talking about legacy, I doubt if these politicians really care about that. All they care about is securing the pension and comfortable retirement for them and their families. Surely you can't be, have such little ambition, but also little pride. I think we care about what people think about us, especially when we occupy positions like heading up the prosecution's body of a country. You should care. And, you want to look back and say, I did everything in my power and I performed at my optimal best. And yes, the system may have failed me, but I did what I could do. And I think that for me is the concern. I worry when people perform in a way that makes me feel like this person just doesn't care what people and the country actually thinks of their performance. Let's take a voice note.
How's it, Madam Kgomotso? Stationery, ma'am. I have 2 boxes at the tissue, plus the hand soap, the soap and soap. So, other thing, tennis ball, skipping rope, 2 razor, the scissors, the pen, the plate dog, the pretty.
Skipping ropes, why do you need tennis balls and skipping ropes? Yeah, these stationery lists for me. And the thing is, they get longer and longer every year. It's almost as though, it feels like teachers sit there and think, what can we add to this list? What can we add? What can we say, to get parents to buy more and spend more money? Yeah, I've heard things like tennis balls. Listen, when I was in school, the school had tennis balls. And they would keep them there. And, it wasn't the entire class that needed to buy tennis balls. Right? It was, and some of the things came from school fees. That's what I thought. That some of these things came. Our parents didn't have to buy tennis balls. Some of these items for me, I think, we're stretching it. Tell me, if you're a teacher, do you think we're being unreasonable? Do you think that we don't understand and there's a reason why you're making the demands that you're making? I've even heard of teachers saying there's glue that just doesn't stick. The glue that once you put it on, then you stick it on the paper, you stick the papers together, it doesn't work. And there's a reason why they ask for specific brands. And those brands are expensive. But yeah, I do see some of your voice notes. Maybe let's take another voice note and hear what you have to say.
Until the end.
Kgomotso, come on now. Come on. Are you saying teachers would weigh in one or two regarding the issue that you guys are talking about? It's like negotiating malaria with the mosquito. It's January. These people have got nothing. Understand? Hey!
Hi guys, let me tell you, you are going to buy a glue stick every month. My daughter is in grade 7 and I literally have to buy a glue stick almost every single month.
You see, that becomes my problem, because now we've budgeted and said, here's the money for the school, for stationery. Here's the money that we're spending on school fees. Now when you come to me in March and you want me to top up, I didn't plan for this. I thought you asked me for everything that you required. And all of a sudden now you want me to top up. I don't have the money to top up. I didn't budget for the top ups. I thought that the demands that you made at the beginning of the year are enough. You know, I mean, it's poor parents. And I know I'm coming. I'm right behind you guys. I'm coming there, and I know I'm going to start spending also soon. But I wonder what goes into this. And this is why I want to hear from teachers. What goes into the decision making? Or are we just being creative? So, you know, sometimes it feels like teachers sit in a circle and go, how can we get them to spend more money? I don't know. Let us know. I mean, maybe we just don't understand, and you guys have the foresight that we don't have. But your experience also in the classroom might be rather interesting, and there's a reason why you make the demands that you make.
Hi, Kgomotso. On the topic of items on the school stationery list, in my 4-year-old's class this year, they're asking for domestos. But now this is not a once-off thing. They're asking for a bottle of domestos from every child every month. But it is only for his class. Another class, they're asking for something else, like a box of tissues. In another class, they're asking for a pack of wet wipes, you know. So last year when I asked, they said, no, this is because this is expected to sustain the entire school. So like the domestos is to be used in every single class, not just my son's class. So I guess it makes sense, unless of course in these lists they've got the same thing for every child. Yeah, that's totally different. Thank you.
You see, that's where my problem becomes. Now I don't understand. I don't understand why we buy. Candy, what's the school fees for? What's the school fees for? Because we pay for school fees. We pay school fees, and what I should be buying in terms of stationery is just stationery. The things that my child will be using throughout the year. I mean, there was a time in schools where, you know, even especially in the lower quintile schools, where stationery was actually accounted for in the school fees. And I understand that's not practical. I get it. I understand that, you know, the child might need a lot more. Things are expensive and we want the best. They must be using, you know, the best supplies. But now when you're asking 35 children in a class. On average, these classes have 35 children. Okay, if it's a smaller school, maybe 25 children. You want us to buy 25 domestos. What are you using the school fees for? You see now, this is, for me, that becomes the problem. And this is why I want to hear from the teachers. Also, it's really the question of, I mean, do you need these things? Or are we being extra? You know, is it just being a little extra because the parents can? Also, it's easier to make these demands when you're not the one, you know, buying and spending the money on these things. But I do know, I'm sure that there are teachers that are, doing push-ups, and they are ready to answer all of you, the parents who have something to say about your stationery list. Someone saying kids are unique and use consumables at different rates. Expecting teachers to plan for that is unrealistic. So how did it usually work, back in the day? And I'm thinking of when I was in school, because there was a plan, it seemed, you know, there was a plan that there's these children and this is how we go about it. But also, I thought that's what school fees is used for. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe school fees just goes towards something else. If you run a school, if you're a principal and you have an understanding of what the spending is for a school, please get in touch with us. Let us know. Someone says, hi, when I was at school, the tennis balls lasted years because we were brought up responsibly. These days, the kids lose, break, destroy school stuff literally in days. Cost to school. New rule, you break, you pay. That's fair, right? Maybe the kids' parents will teach their kids good manners. School fees for professional teaching. And I hear that. I also don't understand why we need all these new tennis balls every year. The balls would last for a while, but also some of these were the expense of the school. That's where where I'm from and what I remember. But let's take some more voice notes.
Good morning, Kgomotso. How are you? Kgomotso, I once worked as a part-time assistant from a particular school. It was a primary school. All of these things they want. These teachers after school. I'm gonna talk what I've seen. I'm gonna say what I've seen. So, what they're doing is that they go to the storeroom and then take those stationaries and go home with it. So I don't think it's necessary for parents to buy all of those things because, truly speaking, those teachers
I've heard those stories, and I'm choosing not to believe them because I want to believe that teachers are far more honest than that, and they're upright people who make the right decisions. But I've heard stories of that being the case. And I think that parents there's that, that it crosses your mind that, maybe these people are taking all these supplies for themselves. I'm choosing to believe that it's not true. And I want to hear from the parents, because now these are allegations that are being made not from the parents, from the teachers. These are allegations that are being made against you, that sometimes you pop into the storeroom and you take a box of tissues because there's so many, or you take one domestos because there's so many. We're talking about those items on your child's school stationery list. It's that time of the year, back to school. And if you are a parent that's only buying now, I'm sure you're counting the coins, unless you are very, very good with managing your finances during the festive season. I think I'll be one of those parents who buy my school supplies in December already. And if they give us a list in November, I'll buy already. Because, I don't want no stress. I cannot get stress. I just want to get it out the way so that I buy the brand that they want me to buy. And now I'm not, and rationalizing with the child. I used to be that child in the school stationery aisle saying to my mom, but they said this brand. And my mom said, it's the same. It does the same work. I don't want to be that parent. They're rationalizing with my daughter, saying to her, no, let's just buy the other brand. It doesn't make a difference. But that happens when you are counting the coins. We continue with the conversation after headlines.
702. Call us on 011 883 0702.
Good morning, Kgomotso. How are you? Kgomotso, I once...
Welcome back. This is the Clement Manyathela Show. My name is Kgomotso Modise. We're going to be coming to you with more of your voice notes. We're speaking about stationery lists on the open line, but of course we are taking your calls and your WhatsApps on anything else that you want to talk about. We've been analyzing and speaking about some of these stationery lists and the items that we really find to be, concerning, that we find to be maybe questionable. Maybe concerning is not the right word. Questionable. That we think, why do they need pine gel from the children? Why can't they buy pine gel from the school supplies? Someone here is saying, Kgomotso, last year I tweeted Minister Siviwe Kwahube after seeing a list online that included pine gel. Yeah, there's one. This sparked a conversation with teachers who communicated that these ridiculous requirements are to bridge the gap where there's government failing, i.e. cleaning products to help school because the department didn't supply enough of those, which is a bigger issue to be addressed. And it says, I'm lucky this year my kids' list includes just a box of tissue per term, and I took it from my groceries. That's Lerato in Midrand. Thank you for that. I think it's great, actually, when you raise these with, the officials and like the minister, so that we can actually understand why they are making these demands. But I'm really glad that we have a teacher, the school principal of Sunwood Park High. Sylvia is on the line, and she's called in. Good morning, Sylvia. Thank you so much for your call.
Good morning. I'm not the principal of Sunwood Park High. I'm the principal of Primrose Hill. I stay in Sunwood Park.
Ah, okay.
I just wanted to put a spin on it. On average, because you were speaking about school fees and how this money should be used towards buying these things. On average, most ex-Model C schools are collecting on average 40%, at the most 60% of the school fees. And that is if you're trying very, very, very hard with debt collectors and all of that to maintain and sustain schools. And add to that the fact that the department is also not able to keep up with the demands and the needs of schools. And if I'm speaking from a perspective of a parent, which I'm one, I'm happy for my child to be in a clean environment. I am happy as a parent to have a school that cares enough to say, okay, we are not making it in this area. Can we not rope in the parents to assist in terms of how the environment should be looking for our children to be in a conducive learning environment? And also check the staff. Check the type of parent who's calling and complaining about these things. Check our white schools and counterparts and look into how most of the parents are not complaining about the things they have to do, or an extra mile they have to walk in order to make it work.
Yeah.
So as a community, I think we need to think outside of our own self. I know we are triggering money traumas in most communities, which is a fair point, and I understand that, but we should also look into why is a school asking for that. There is a school governing body which obviously endorses some of the things that are being asked.
Yeah.
And maybe we should start with our constituencies and ask them, why is a school demanding for us to bring time jail? They should break it down to their current components in terms of why it's done the way it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I think it's enlightening, and it's a valid contribution to the conversation. Just tell me, when it comes to communicating this with the parents, because I think sometimes, parents will get the list, and maybe they don't ask the right questions, to the right people as well. But how do the schools go about communicating their direct needs? We assume that the school is doing okay, and some parents don't know that maybe you're really struggling. Sylvia?
Within schools?
Oh, I'm sorry, we lost you there. We lost you there.
Hello?
Please we can hear you now. Please go again.
Yes, there are various platforms of communication within schools, which include your meetings, which on average, we don't even form quorums in these meetings when it comes to calling in parents to come in and listen in and contribute and give their 5 cents worth. So what normally happens is we operate on the basis that if the SGB approves, then we should be fine.
Okay.
If the majority, you get parents at the end of each year asking you, oh, I didn't know that we were supposed to pay school fees over 12 months, but you had an AGM, this parent wasn't there, this parents didn't read the resolutions after they were sent to them, after the AGM they missed. So all of these things are still upon schools to communicate to parents who seem to not be interested in their children's education, because if you're not there when major decisions are being made, when an AGM is not operating, it means the parents are not interested. So they don't know how the school is doing, how they are struggling to make ends meet, and how to go about supporting the school to ensuring that quality education is still rendered.
And what goes into these stationery lists and compiling these stationery lists? I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes into it and consideration. So how does it work? How does it happen?
It's a consultation with the teachers, obviously. Each teacher from classroom. It's a needs analysis process. We analyze what is required for the year to keep up what is needed. And I think most schools also, you can be although we put some of these things on a list, some of the schools require these things to be kept by parents at home. But we don't even have storerooms to stock up and put all of this requirements within schools. However, we do a needs analysis, we send it through to teachers, they check it, they analyze it also, and they finalize it by themselves, give it to the SMT, it gets approval, and from there it goes out to the parents. But it's a communicated process. We don't wake up and decide we need domestos.
Yeah.
Because maybe on your day one, for an example, each school gets a visit department at the beginning.
Oh, the line is not good,
Like
Sylvia.
a kitchen for starters.
Yeah.
If I don't have money to buy soap,
yeah.
why can't I ask parents to assist us so that those toilets are conducive for our children when they come back to school?
And just the last one. Thank you so much. I'm appreciating this contribution. Just in terms of, I mean, the parents will ask, and I even asked, so what happens with the school fees? Does it go, what are some of the other expenses that it goes towards? Because you assume that in most schools, they are paid by the department. Some teachers are paid by the department. Some will be paid by the school. What else does this? So when a parent says, but we pay school fees, why don't you buy the pine shell?
Oh, Lord. It's a lot. We pay, obviously you have additional staff members that you need to pay. You have rates and services that if they are anywhere below 40,000 a month, you are lucky to keep up lights, to keep lights on and to keep your electricity on. You are buying stationery. It's not like schools are not buying stationery. We are buying stationery. We are upkeeping with the teachers. We have a whole list of contractors for machines, for anything you can think of that has to function within schools. We must buy paper. There's a lot that the school sees money go to, which is very helpful. And I think a lot of schools are grateful to those parents who are still paying school fees to this age, because most parents seem to be under the impression that education is free in South Africa at every school. And we are also contending within those expenses with the fact that if you have 800 children in your school, you probably already have 200 on exemption, applied for exemption, as parents are not working. And in the 600, that's where you get your 40%. I mean, that's not even half of the budget required for a year. So schools are struggling. They are really struggling. And maybe there should be a report out there to enlighten the general community in terms of how schools are run and managed, especially financially, so parents can also understand where schools are coming from when they make demands like this. I never question my daughter's school when they're looking for things or asking for things, because I'm in the situation and I understand. Maybe to another parent out there who doesn't understand, we're not saying buy ridiculous things. There are demands that you can see this is really not necessarily going to benefit my child in any way. But all we are saying is ask questions so you can get clarity from the relevant people. Taking it to social media and creating an uproar is not going to help, because the stationery lists are out and they stay as they are. But we can have a dialogue around what can go into it, especially where you see a school is struggling.
Yeah. Sylvia, thank you so much. I appreciate your call.
It's a pleasure.
All
Thank
right,
you. Have a lovely day.
You too. Cheers. That's Sylvia. She's a school principal herself. And, her contribution, I called for the teachers, principals to call in and let us know. Of course, with this conversation, each side feels, they have a case. The teachers feel you guys don't know our struggles. We're struggling without supplies. The school's barely making it. The parents feel, what more do you need? What more do you want? I heard from our colleagues here also who've been speaking about how some schools get these supplies from government, and they still ask for parents to top up. And yes, there's that controversial view that people have that the teachers sometimes pinch from the supplies that have been brought by the children. But let's take more of your voice notes. I see them coming in.
Hi, good day. Regarding the stationery topic, I just want to add what we did last year is we kept the stationery at home instead of sending it to school. We just told the teacher, right, just tell us what they need and we'll send it to school. Or our kids would tell us, and they were in grade 1 and 2. And believe me not, we have so much stationery left over, and we're going to use it for this coming year now. So what we assume they are sharing the stationery among other kids who might not have. And I don't feel it's fair. If they want us to donate, I will donate, but do not ask me to buy so much stationery and share it among the rest of the kids in the class.
Awa Kgomotso, I'm married to the owner of an ECD, and I can guarantee you that my household supplements the school. So it's not always things taken from the school. We are also supplementing the school. There's households of people who are married to teachers and owners of ECDs. So please, parents, just do your part. Do your part.
Yeah, there's that conversation also. The fact that parents just don't want to show up. You don't want to show up for your children. You don't want to do your part. And, you clearly don't have an interest. And I should call those parents out. It's important as part of this conversation to say to the parents that have children, you should have better interest. It's unacceptable. We come from a time, and I'll always speak about this as a child who went to a previously Model C school, where our parents it was difficult for them to show up, to even come to school, just by virtue of where we went to school and how far we lived from the school, living in a township. I mean, I lived in the township, and I was lucky enough to go to a school in a suburb. But my parent moving from her workplace and coming all the way to school was so difficult. But we had to say, you need to go. You need to come to that meeting. And as I understand, I sympathize with the parents who just can't go to the schools. But if you can, please do. Please show up. If you can be part of a school governing body, please do it. I've been to some schools, township schools even, where parents are so good in being part of the school governing body. And as a result, the school does exceptionally well. A couple of years ago, I covered a school in Orlando, Soweto called AP Kgoma. The parents there were so active. And as a result, the school was performing so well. They were performing so beautifully. And so even Lilona, your parents, I need you to show up. And ask the right questions. I also do think that it's easier sometimes to complain under our breath, and with each other, to each other, and not ask the questions from the right people. So that might be, a challenge. But I also do think that it's good to be critical when you get the list and ask questions. Don't just be passive. I suppose because it's taking money from your pockets, you are not passive. You are then critical naturally. So I do see that. But speaking about school stationery lists, it's that time of the year. Are you counting your coins? Do you stick to the list to the T? I know parents at this time of the year, they kind of try find ways, They say, you don't need a room of 200. You can get a room of 100. You don't need a room, or is it 500? I think it's 500 pages in a room, the last I checked. Are you creative in that way? Sometimes kids, I can tell you as a kid also whose mom was very creative and would try to find ways. You're a little embarrassed. They said come with 500 pages. There you are with half a rim of paper. And now you must present it and bring it to school. So I can imagine how that is. But if you are a parent, who tries to find ways, and sometimes you ask those questions, why do I need to be paying this much for school fees? We're talking about that. It's an important conversation to have now as we're moving into the new academic year. I think I'm leaning towards the schools that just ask you to pay. Ask me to pay, I'll pay the money and you guys buy. But then don't come back to me and ask me to top up. I've paid, it's January, don't come back. I've made my contribution, and that's as far as I'm going. Let's take more of your voice notes.
Hi, Kgomotso and the 702 listeners, and compliments of the new year. This is a very thorny issue. With the lower quintile schools, especially from your quintile 4 until your quintile 1, you know that there is LTSM allocation. And every year, when we do AGMs, we attend those AGMs, they would give you the breakdown of all the costs for the year. And where it comes to stationery, the rims that we buy, the box of rims, the tie-pack box of rims that we buy are all allocated for. So what is the reason that we then as parents have to buy these rims? Because it doesn't make sense. To me, it doesn't make sense. If I'm to buy as a parent Domestos and Sunlight, I'm funding someone's home, because I can tell you now, those Sunlight dishwashers, the Domestos and everything else goes to the homes. Teachers take those. And the box of tissues, if they have young ones that are also attending schools, they take from the stock that we bring as parents to the schools. So it's really not fair. Government, the Department of Education has to relook this whole thing. Yeah, because it really doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Good morning, Kgomotso and the 702 listeners. Mina, I'm convinced that the president and his cronies do not care. Remember what happened in Switzerland now on the 31st of December, where these 30 or 40 people who died in fire. I've noticed that the president, without fail, will always send condolences to these foreign countries whenever there's a disaster. A week or two before that, remember the Salisbury massacre, that's what I will call it, and the Bergville massacre. The total number of people who died there is more than 20. I've not heard a president utter a word to those families that are affected, because certainly those people belong to someone. They are a father to somebody, they are the brother, and so forth. Not even a word from the president. So, and right now they are fighting over this Venezuela's president. So they are always meddling in other people's businesses when we have our own problems here in this country. So they just don't give a hoot. You on Monday, we know what Kgomotso was saying. So these guys, they just don't give a hoot about us, JT in the van.
Yeah, look, so, I've been I try to follow the president quite as closely as I can, through my colleagues who do politics. And what I've found with him is, oftentimes when he does respond to events that have happened or disasters or, what would be a massacre, it would be embedded in a speech that he does somewhere. Like yesterday we saw him addressing at a COSATU event, an SACP event in Soweto, and that's where he made the spoke about Venezuela. I think that it's usually embedded, and when he's doorstopped at an event, he'll then speak about it. You're right, it would be appreciated that he actually mentions these. Another place that I know that the president uses, a platform that he uses to almost send condolences, is in his newsletter. He still has that weekly newsletter on Monday. Every morning he's got that weekly newsletter that he writes. And he kind of, I don't want to say sneaks it in there, but that's where you'll find some of his condolences. But I agree with the fact that we need him to be more vocal, especially when there are, these things that happen in the country that grip the nation, that concern the people. These are his, people, and it would be nice to hear that the president actually cares about them. All right, I do see. Actually, I wanted to weigh in also on that voice note from a little earlier. Someone else speaking about the stationery list issue and the fact that if government is supplying, why then do we need to top up? And I think that's when then parents become a little concerned and have the question that maybe this is being used by the teachers or those who have access to it. But I think the answer to this is the school must communicate. And I don't think that all schools are effective in their communication. I think some schools they do a really good job. They'll even send WhatsApps and SMSs to parents and emails regularly. I don't think all schools are as effective. And as a result, parents just don't know.
Morning, it's Greg here. I work for a company. We're a wholesaler for stationery. And when I look at the school lists that we get, they have the most expensive brands on there. I won't name those brands, but there are so many other brands that people could buy cheaper to fit the pockets. But what I've noticed is when the kids go into a shop to buy, they want that brand because the school has put that specific brand on the list. And there's no reason for it to be on there because there are better quality products on the market. I won't say once again the company I work for, but we sell an equivalent at half the price. But we can't sell it all the time because the parents are scared. No, but the school has put this and this brand on the list. And if it wasn't like that, it would also help a lot.
Cooks, good morning again. Cooks, we understand what the principal is saying, I think that's where the fundraising comes in, especially when you come to, if the school cannot afford some toiletries, some cleaning material. That's where the fundraising comes in. That's why there are fundraisings at schools. So we can come together, we raise funds for those things that are outstanding. Why should we cough it up out of our own pockets while we know that schools can still do something about it? You pay 4,500 every end of the month. You pay 4,500. When you pay this side, you're required to pay. You're required to do this. You're required to add this. Whenever they want to go out on a school trip, you're the one that's still supposed to pop out of your own pocket. On top of all of that, sometimes it's really frustrating. The department must really intervene with the private schools, because they also get funding from the government. They get funding from the government also.
Yeah, it can get a bit much. And I think that, at some point the parents need to start asking the right questions. I think you should start asking, and I think you'll get the answers. You're right. The culture of fundraising is so important in schools. Not only does it help the school, but it also helps the children to feel like they are part of the school. And I think that's what we need. You're trying to build a community when it comes to school. You're trying to build children also that, that feel like they're part of the school and that are proud, and I think fundraising is an exceptional way of doing so. And I'm not sure that schools do enough when it comes to that. But again, they need you, the parents, to show up.